Hello, it's Concord Wind. I'm not even sure if I'm going to post this. We'll see how it goes. But I've got a passage of God's words that's different from the passages I typically read on here. Very different. It's about Jesus, the first incarnation. I guess let's just read. I don't know how this is going to go. God says, before Jesus performed the work, he merely lived in his normal humanity. No one could tell that he was God. No one found out that he was the incarnate God. People just knew him as a completely ordinary man. His utterly ordinary normal humanity was proof that God was incarnated in the flesh, and that the age of grace was the age of the work of the incarnate God, not the age of the Spirit's work. It was proof that the Spirit of God was realized completely in the flesh, that in the age of God's incarnation, his flesh would perform all the work of the Spirit. The Christ with normal humanity is a flesh in which the Spirit is realized and is possessed of normal humanity, normal sense, and human thought. Being realized means God becoming man, the Spirit becoming flesh. To put it more plainly, it is when God himself inhabits the flesh with normal humanity, and through it expresses his divine work. This is what it means to be realized or incarnated. I don't know if, you guys probably already know this, maybe not, I don't know, but I'm running out of devotionals to read on this channel, and I've read through all the notes in the books. One second. Yeah, so I've read through all the passages I've underlined in the books. I can go over the same stuff again, which I've done that before, so. But, before Jesus began his ministry, before he was recognized by the Spirit of God as the only Son of God, before that, before he was 33 years old, he lived his life in normal humanity. Like, nobody would be able to tell him apart from anyone else. There was like a scene of him, talking, teaching the religious folks in the temple when he was a child. But we don't know the content of the words that he spoke. We don't know, he wasn't accused or condemned by religious people that we know of. It's not recorded that he was. So we can only assume that what he said as a child when he was teaching the religious people in the temple, we can only assume that it wasn't as offensive as the words he spoke during his ministry, And if it wasn't as offensive, it was probably more normal, and it was probably just like, he was probably, because he hadn't begun his ministry yet, so he's probably speaking within religious notions. And, but he wasn't condemned or rejected by the world. He was just seen as a normal person. Once he began his ministry, things changed. He spoke from his divinity. And that's why I assume when he was a child teaching at the churches, he was speaking from his humanity, because he wasn't rejected. And they thought what he said was profound, so it must have been from his humanity. Because they can accept the teachings of a normal human, but they can't accept the teachings of the incarnate God in the flesh. So as Jesus began to speak of coming in his Father's name and breaking Sabbath and saying he is Lord even of the Sabbath day. And, all the things that he said, that were the truth were very offensive to the religious worlds because it was from divinity, and God's divinity is always offensive to the religious world. Because God's divinity is the truth, and the religious world rejects the truth because, you see, the truth is alive. The truth is not stuck in the past. The truth is being revealed over time. There's newer and higher revelations as time goes on. Just as history moves forward, time moves forward, the truth moves forward. The truth doesn't stay stuck in the past. If the Bible was the complete truth, then why do Christians still have so many questions, either about the Bible or about life or about God? Christians have so many questions that are unanswered. And Christians like my mom believe that those questions will be answered once we go to heaven. But I believe the truth is revealed to us while we're alive. And it is. I mean, the evidence is right here. I mean, the truth is revealed on earth, among mankind. And, because God doesn't intend to keep the truth hidden from us and then drop a bombshell of truth. Because, a lot of the new truth that's being revealed is, intimately connected to requirements for entering the kingdom of heaven. So if those truths were not made known, and they were only made known after we enter into the kingdom of heaven, if those truths are made known to you in heaven and you don't meet those requirements, you'll be kicked out of heaven. And that would be the case for everybody. I mean, only, a couple of people would be able to stay in heaven. I mean, it wouldn't even be hundreds of people. And there's been potentially trillions of people that have lived on the earth, or maybe at least billions, a lot of people have lived on the earth over the past, however many years, 6,000 years, whatever. It's a long time, and it's a lot of people. And not even 100 people would be able to remain in heaven if the fullness of the truth was not revealed to us, and maybe not necessarily the fullness of the truth, but especially just the truths regarding requirements for, entering the kingdom of heaven. Those truths definitely need to be known to us. That's very important for God's management plan and for God's desire to bring salvation to man, and which actually entering the kingdom of heaven, that's not the goal that God has in mind for mankind. God's actual goal is, as it's been revealed to us through God's newest utterances, well, not his newest utterances, but utterances from, the 90s or 2000s. But, his will, his goal, his desire for man is to live forever on the earth and to be able to visit the kingdom of heaven and know what life is like in the kingdom of heaven, and then return to earth, but only visit the kingdom of heaven for a temporary amount of time. But the earth would be renewed, and it would be a perfect place, a suitable resting place for mankind, the ideal age where God and man enter into rest together, and there's peace and harmony between God and man. And, man is no longer hostile towards God, and God no longer regards man as his enemy. And And when I say God regards man as his enemy, like, man is, corrupt man is the enemy of God that God conquers, bestows the truth upon, that God harbors hatred and disdain for, that God cares and loves and considers his family, his dearest kin. Corrupt man is the man that God is wanting to save. And corrupt man is incompatible with God, and God wishes to make man compatible with him, and so yeah, this has been kind of all over the place. The sermon's been all over the place. I don't know what to title this video. Yeah, just sharing my understanding of various truths, and in my experience, I've seen that God has done everything he can to instill the truth into me. And I've been very perceptive, for the most part. I've let some things slip by, but for the most part, I've been pursuing the truth. I've been, even when I watch anime and stuff, I'm like seeing how the determination and resolve of the characters relates to the determination and resolve to follow God, and and seek the truth and pursue the truth and practice the truth that we created beings should have. And I see these parallels, and I also see the intended meaning behind how these characters were written in these anime. And it's that you should never give up on the ones you love. You should never give up on your dreams. But none of that's true. You can give up on the ones you love. You can give up on your dreams. Just don't give up on the truth, and don't give up on God. That's the most important thing. And that's the parallel that I see. I see that I'm able to correct the intended message to make it fit with the truth. And then I'm able to, absorb the modified message, a message that conforms to the truth, and I'm able to absorb that message. And some things I watch, I can't modify the message to fit with the truth. Like Cold Ones is just people, it's just two guys drinking and being stupid. That's just stupid entertainment. There's not really anything to modify or reinterpret, because there's no message to that show, really. I mean, it's just, and so but I am able to use discernment and say, these people are so wasteful. They destroy things that they buy. They spend a lot of money on random things and then destroy them. And it's like, they're so wasteful. They're like animals. They can't respect material things, much like how animals can't respect material things. Animals don't see the value in a couch or a recliner. They can't see the value in these things, so they'll just tear them up. And there are people like that who are like animals that, you have to, those types of animals, if they're tearing stuff up, you have to keep them in a cage and only let them out when you're able to keep them under your watchful eye and keep them from tearing stuff up. And then, because they can't learn, they don't know not to tear stuff up. They're, and it's because the environment that God intended for them to live in is an environment where they're allowed to do whatever they want, and everything is kind of tough enough or edible, or it's able to either survive their roughhousing or it's for their nutritional intake, food, sustenance, whatever. I mean, the environment is like more well suited for animals than things that humans build. When humans build things, like, animals don't respect it because the animals don't know to respect anything because the environment is suitable for them, and they just assume, well, what humans build must be suitable for us, so we can do whatever we want with it, and that's not the case. So animals don't have like, the understanding that humans have, and not all humans have that understanding. So, and I see that with cold ones. So I learned from pretty much everything, and that's how we should be. We should have God so intimately involved and connected to our thoughts and to our perspective that we see everything as God's arrangement. And so we learn from every arrangement. We learn from every situation. And we gain discernment and understanding from every situation, And that's how we should be. So, yeah. All right. Thanks so much for watching. God bless and goodbye.